Transformation to a SaaS business and delivery model is long and hard. There are many facets of SaaS transformation, and this in-depth discussion focuses on finance leaders' view of such a transformation. I'm Tomasz Perc, SaaS business architect in AWS SaaS Factory, a team where we help software companies transform their product, business, and operations to a SaaS and business delivery model. I'm joined by Nili Serr Reuven, Senior Vice President of Finance at CyberArk. Nili is a board member, mentor, and an accomplished finance leader with 30 years of experience in corporates of multi-billion-dollar NASDAQ-traded global companies. She is recognized as an industry and business leader with a personal brand of business transformation leadership, scaling up, and strategic planning. Nili frequently speaks at Women in Security and other business, industry, and academic events globally. Her expertise and experience have allowed her to guide companies towards success and growth. I met Nili at the AWS CFO event in Madrid earlier this year. Nili told me the story of CyberArk transformation, or told us actually, and it resonated strongly with participants. So we thought sharing it presents an excellent opportunity for finance and business leaders to learn from CyberArk's journey to SaaS. Nili, it's nice to see you.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. Can you tell us a funny story from your SaaS journey that you can remember, or maybe the funniest? Because there are always plenty, and I think it seems like a good starting point for me.
Yeah, so I couldn't find a really funny story, but I would say a very pleasant or happy one for us. So before we started our journey, of course, we did a lot of homework and research. We talked to consulting firms, we talked to our peers in companies. I personally talked to maybe 6 CFOs of companies who went through a similar journey. And from everything we learned, we understood that it takes between 2 to 2.5 years for a full transformation, especially for a company like us who's been around for 25 years and needs to transform its entire business model. And we ended up swallowing the fish, as we say, in only 5 quarters. So that was a really, really pleasant surprise for us, a very happy moment at the company, and also the market really loved it. Our investor community and analysts really enjoyed it, and for us, we celebrated this. But I would say it wasn't really pure luck. It was after a very well thought through and well executed cross-company program, which I'm very happy to share with you today.
Great, thank you. So you already told us that you're in business for 25 years. Can you give us a little bit of history of how company developed?
Absolutely. CyberArk is a leader in identity security market, in the identity security market. And it was founded by our founder and chief executive, Udi Mokadi, and the founding team. About 25 years ago, we just celebrated a few months ago our 25th anniversary. And by the way, we were celebrating our 10th year since IPO, since we went public in NASDAQ in 2 weeks' time. We're going to celebrate that. So lots of celebrations. And the company started as pioneered the space of the privilege access security, which is a sub-segment in the identity security market. And throughout the years, we have grown, and we have both organically and inorganically innovated and added more and more products and created a platform, which today, 25 years later, we are the leader in identity security domain, and we are securing both the human and non-human identities. Our mission is to secure the world against cyber threats, so together we can move fearlessly forward. And the word secure starts in the first of our mission because we lead with security in everything we do, in every decision we make. And the customer trusts us that we are a security company. We're not a management of their assets or domain. We're securing it. So that's our differentiator. I can say that personally, I joined the company 9 years ago. And the ARR of back then, we didn't talk in ARR terms because it was in the perpetual model, but it was less than $100 million. And now, 9 years fast forward, we're almost getting close to $1 billion of ARR. So it's very fast growing. It's really fun and pleasure to be in this journey.
Nice, nice. So I think we have something in common related to security because it's also a foundation of AWS's business, right?
Absolutely.
So what challenges have you seen, let's say, in the last years, or maybe changes? Like, give an example. What I see a lot now is to talk about is the net dollar retention going down and acquisition costs going up. Do you see this sort of problems popping up also for you?
So actually, we have seen several challenges. More global, I would say the global economy in the last few years has been tough in general. We've seen external events like COVID-19, like some conflicts in Israel where I'm located, and in general economic slowdown in 2023. But I'm very happy to say that for CyberArk, for our identity security, there is a robust demand, and the demand is only getting stronger. And so we actually see that we have been continue to share, to gain more market share throughout the years because our customer trust us. By the way, I didn't mention we have more than 8,000 of customer base, and those customers are the largest enterprises of the world. It's more than 50% of Fortune 500 are our customers, largest banks, largest insurance companies, and across many, many different business verticals, including government agencies. And so today we have about 70% of our business is SaaS, and the remaining is about on-prem subscriptions. So we're fully recurring a revenue business. Very small, 1 or 2% still is like small add-ons of perpetual, but it's really the majority is fully recurring company. And we see strong demand for products. And during 2023 downturn, we saw many companies, the largest enterprises of the world, that had to cut workforce or cut costs. And we did not do that because we have a very prudent, conservative planning approach and operations. We're very responsible in our budgeting. We have created reserves, so for any kind of surprise or rainy day. So we don't need to cut in the flesh. We can really reduce the reserve. We have BCP, business continuity planning and management. So we have, when something happens in one region, like in Israel, we have another area that can pick up, and we can always be prepared for any situation. So we're trying to think ahead, to plan ahead. Our management team is been seasoned and experienced. So we managed to even grow in difficult economy or during COVID and difficult times. We actually saw that was actually COVID-19 actually accelerated the shift to the SaaS.
I mean, people were at home, more SaaS was needed, and security is more and more important. So it all plays into your hands, I guess.
Yeah, the digitalization trends, absolutely.
So okay, now we have a bit of an idea what CyberArk is. So let's look into the journey of the company's transformation to SaaS and business delivery model. So can you first tell us what drove the decision to pursue SaaS? I mean, you started, I don't remember what year you started on the journey, but can you take us a little bit through that? So how you make the decision and to move to SaaS?
Absolutely. I remember that it was in 2020. So COVID started, but by the way, in the last decade, we saw that the world is moving to SaaS and to the cloud, and many companies had similar transformation. We were a company that was established 25 years ago. So our business model, when we were established, was on a perpetual on-prem business model. And then when we saw that the trend of moving to the SaaS, we kind of tested it in our customer base. But as I mentioned before, our customer base were the largest banks and the government agencies and even countries like China that were, I wouldn't call them early adopters of the cloud. They were actually, we were securing their most, a privileged asset. So they were more hesitant to move to the cloud, and they took their time to be ready for that. And over time, our new products that we innovated, and also the startup companies that we acquired throughout the last decades were more SaaS native. So we started to have a little bit of SaaS through the acquisition and through innovation in the last decade. And we also, when 2020 COVID-19 started, we saw that the digitalization was accelerated because of work from home, work from everywhere. And also we surveyed our customers, our prospects. We checked internally, and we saw that the now was the time that they were ready for that shift. And we created a very well thought through plan that is not all the customers need to shift on day one. We still have customers that run our classic products, and we still provide them support and services. And if they need some add-ons, we don't say no. But we created this program that was well thought through. It was ran by our now CEO, Matt Cohen, who was back then the COO of the company. And he created this PMO team. I was part of this PMO team with colleagues from other parts of the company. So it was a cross-department collaboration of program. And then we had 70 people across the company in different work streams that the PMO met with the work streams every week. And we had the steering committees with the executive team. It was organized like a very well program. And we started with thinking and planning and talking to peers and talking to other companies, CFOs, CEOs of companies, what worked well, what didn't work well, what we should be looking at. And so the work streams were around, we had to change so many things. So it's really this kind of business transformation impacts every aspect of the company. We had the work stream of changing the pricing, a work stream about compensation plans change, a work stream around communication, both internally and externally, a work stream around how to do conversions. So if customers do come to us, we segmented our customers and said who should be the first population that we should approach, who should be the population that we should be more reactive, and so on, and what should be the conversion models. We had many, many different work streams, including a work stream around change management and culture shift, culture mindset, because a company with a perpetual business model has the product in the center, but the company with the recurring revenue or SaaS company has to put the customer in the center. So a customer-centric approach, a customer experience, put the customer first in every decision we make. So we had all these work streams. We work together in a cross-collaboration with different parts of the organization, from product, R&D, marketing, sales, revenue, finance, HR, legal. Everyone was involved. We worked very closely together. And successfully, we tracked it very, carefully, and we successfully swallowed the fish in just 5 quarters. And we're very happy to do it.
So, for people that don't know what swallowing the fish means, can you give us in 2 sentences what does it mean?
Yeah. So there is this classic textbook that shows that during the transformation, in a perpetual business model, let's say you close a deal of $1 million and you deliver it on December 31st. Immediately upon delivery, you can recognize that $1 million as revenue in this quarter. While the same deal would be in a SaaS business model, you have to spread the revenue over time. So if you sign the deal on December 31st for 3 years, you will recognize it over time. You will see almost nothing on that day, on that quarter. So that means that in the short term, the revenue looks like it's dropping. We didn't really drop the revenue, but the growth rate of the revenue became single digit. And then after you transition, the revenue growth rates start to go up, and you enjoy the flywheel effect of the accelerated revenue growth, because now you start every year with already all the deals you closed in the past. You enjoy those revenues, and you can, every dollar that you sell is only on top of that. You don't start from zero every quarter like in a perpetual business model. So the revenue goes down and then goes up, while the expense is the opposite. The expense, you have to invest more. You have to invest in changing your, maybe working in parallel like we did in the classic product, where we didn't neglect our existing customers, existing product. You need to continue to maintain it while you also invest in the new environments and the new pricing models. So you spend it more in the beginning, and then the expense growth rate you can scale. So the beauty of that, revenue go down and then up, expense go up and then down. So that shows the fish diagram. Mm-hmm. You can imagine that shape of a fish. It looks like a fish. And that when you finish that transformation, you enjoy faster growth rate of revenue and slower increase in expense while you continue to invest, but you can invest at scale in less investment growth rate than the revenue. So we are now at this point, and we reached to that point in only 5 quarters. So it was a classic
It was a very
fish.
short fish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke with a colleague of mine from my team SaaS Factory, and he said that he rarely sees such a tightly connected leadership team that you have. And he said that he asked the question why this is the case. He asked it to your leaders, and they said it's because you sit together. It was a very simple answer, and I guess it's also very powerful because in this distributed world that we live in, right, we are both on cameras here, being together can be really useful, right? Especially in those complex situations like transformation. Any thoughts on that?
I think our values, our culture and our values, we're very proud of it. We have many values that are similar to other companies, but one is very unique to CyberArk, and it's called smart, bold, but humble. And that means that in everything we do, in every person that we hire to the company, and the way we think of ourselves, we want to have the smartest people that make bold decisions, but humble enough to understand that together we can achieve much more than individually. So we know that no one person knows everything. And when we work together, we achieve much more. So I think in the value of we is that we all work together and we understand that we have a lot of interdependencies. If we change something in finance and we don't notify the sales organization or vice versa, there's going to be chaos. But if we all work together and we can all understand the interdependencies and understand all the different aspects, and so collaboration and communication are key to achieve our goals together.
I actually made a T-shirt of this. It's called SaaS is a full contact team sport, and this is exactly what you
Yeah.
what
We
you just
call it
explained.
security is the team sport as well. Yeah. With the ecosystem that we work with, also ecosystem means not only collaborate internally, but also with our partners. And AWS is absolutely one of the major partners, strategic partners that we collaborate and work together.
And we thank you for collaborating with us. I think it's a great partnership. It's okay. So we discussed a little bit how it all went, and I was wondering, and now you need to tell me whether or not you can share this, but there is of course an investment part, as you mentioned, in the swallowing the fish. So how did you persuade the board to make those commitments to you, or did they set any limitations, milestones in that sense? Did they say how much, how many dollars you can spend?
It was built into our budget plans, into our long-term models,
Mhm.
and the board was on board with this, and they fully agreed with our plan. It was not too aggressive. I think it was very well thought through, realistic. We looked where we can, what can fund other things, and we didn't overspend like we always do. Even in 2021, when many companies you see billboards of recruiting and so on, and extravaganzas, parties around the world, and on the unicorns, we didn't go crazy. We always were conservative, I would say prudent, responsible is the word. So we were always responsible, and the board really appreciates that, and they agreed to our plan.
So that means they were also on board with the, let's say, reduced growth rates that you've, I guess, put in the
Yes.
plan, right?
Because we showed them the long term. It was not just the board. We're a public company, and we had to work with our investor community, and we showed them this is the long term plan. This is where we're going to be 3 years from now and 5 years from now, and we're going to be a rule of 40 company, which means the revenue growth rate plus the operating margin are going to be over 40, like it was always have been for us. But during that period of transformation, we're going to go. The rule of 40 is going to go down, but then it's going to go up. So we showed them the end game. We showed them that we know how to get from point A to point B, and they all got it.
Okay. So after you swallowed the fish, I guess this is where the revenue, you started creating a SaaS revenue. And so if we distinguish between SaaS and non-SaaS, I guess you had two things going on. One was perpetual to subscription, or is that already happened before the 2020?
No, so we actually did it started a little bit before, but it was not that significant.
Okay.
And then during the transformation, we said we're moving to be a recurring revenue company. We didn't say we're moving to be a full SaaS company, because we knew that the install base of 8,000 customers that already have on-prem investment. They can now, any add-on they can do, it's easier for them to do it on a subscription base, so on-prem subscription, then to move immediately to SaaS. Some shifted immediately from perpetual to SaaS, but we said when we start, it's easier to start with the new logos, right? So when you acquire a new logo, new customer, you immediately start and lead with SaaS. But when you have an old customer or an existing customer that wants to buy a few more licenses, maybe it's easier for them to start with the on-prem subscription and then convert their rest of their install base to on-prem subscription, and then later on migrate from that subscription into SaaS. Some move immediately to SaaS, some do that in 2 steps. So in all our new products, also we offer them only as SaaS. But over time, we also moved the modern technology in the offerings that we offer, the bundle offering and all the new products suite on our platform to be SaaS-based. So most customers, if they want to get the full benefit and added value from our products, and also our price list was made in a way that is more appealing for them to buy SaaS. It's more appealing for our sales organization to sell SaaS from the compliance perspective. So we made it worthwhile to sales organization to sell SaaS. We made it more worthwhile to the customer to buy SaaS product. And our investment, definitely the most modern feature function was in the SaaS product. So over time, it was easier to sell more SaaS. Today, 70% of our business is sold as SaaS, and about the remaining 30% is more the on-prem subscription.
So after the first or the 5 quarters of transformation, you had close to 0 SaaS, or where were you at that time?
Before the 5 quarters.
No, after you sold.
No. After the 5 quarters, we were already crossed the 85. We were about, I think, 50-50 between SaaS and subscription, and we had, it was after 5 quarters, we were about 85%. So 85% was fully recurring. We still have 15%. We said that crossing the 85% to us means a significant transformation. And then after that, slowly there was like a long tail that went down from the perpetual side.
So the 5 quarters are really to move perpetual to subscription, to recurring, and then for new customers SaaS, and from recurring also towards the SaaS slowly. Okay. Another thing we cannot pass, of course, is the cost structure. They change when you start embracing SaaS, right? When you go to subscription, well, cost structures don't change, but when you go to SaaS, they do, right? So how did COGS, I'm assuming they've increased. What about the rest of the cost? And then how did you do optimization during, let's say, that initial transformation and then onwards?
Yes, so we definitely looked carefully. Some of the costs remain the same, but in the cloud costs, definitely that became now our second highest cost in the company. So if the first cost is the payroll, we said that 70% of expenses are usually payroll in a SaaS company, in every software company. Now cloud became the second cost item, and it became very significant. So, but over time we managed to be more efficient and to reduce the cloud cost as percentage of SaaS revenue. Of course, the cloud costs continue to increase as we sell more and more SaaS, but we managed to make it in a more efficient way every year. We created some organization roles like FinOps, which is a cross-department team. We have that in IT, in the product organization, and in finance, and we all work together to track, to spot potential saving areas. We also have that review daily, weekly, monthly, and the quarterly steering committee. We celebrate success stories. We create a FinOps practice with training to the employees, so there is rising awareness across the company to these costs, so people are aware and try to find savings there. We have more KPIs to track that. Of course, we are leading with ARR, leading indicator both externally and internally, but we also look at utilization rates and annualized equivalent bookings and so on.
Now you mentioned the metrics. So Which metrics are you tracking? I mean, you mentioned ARR. Are you also looking at net revenue retention, cost acquisition, customer acquisition cost, free cash flow? I guess these are all things that are important, but what are your key metrics that you're tracking?
Yeah, so definitely, by the way, we're very proud of the fact that our ARR is growing. Even after 25 years, we have more than 30% growth in our ARR. We are very proud of our free cash flow that now after we swallowed the fish, and I mean, we just, in the last quarter we published, it's a public information that first 6 months of this year of 2024, we generated more than $100 million of free cash flow just in the first half of the year. So we're very happy because we are looking at cash. Today, cash is king. We are looking at growth because growth is very important, but also profitability. We're a profitable company. And we're looking at KPIs. Of course, ARR is the leading indicator, but we also look at the cloud cost as percentage of cloud revenue. We look at AB, which is a metric that we invented, and we only use it internally. It's acronyms for annualized equivalent booking. And the reason we created it was because during the transformation, the sales organization sold some perpetual deals, some subscription deals, some SaaS deals, some are 1 year and a few years. And so in order to kind of smoothen it for their compensation and for internal measurement, we use that measurement metric. And yes, of course, as you mentioned, customer acquisition cost and all those metrics.
So what was the impact on profitability and let's say operating margin or the profit during the transformation? And then did it, because what we see in the research we've done as AWS is we've seen that the first year after, companies usually have much lower gross margin, and then it increases over time, and it then stabilizes at, let's say, 70%, which is kind of the industry standard. Of course, depends on the industry, but a little bit.
Yeah, so you can see we're a public company and the numbers are public. We managed to keep our gross margins all along above the 80% levels, and we didn't go into the 70% because we're tracking our expense very carefully and finding efficiencies. And I would say that slightly over the 80%, so 82, 83% is what we are tracking against.
That's great.
Yeah, and the operating margins, we are also exchanges. Now it's back to the teens levels, and we're definitely in our long-term plans. We said that we are going to be back Rule of 40 company with the 25% growth in revenue and north than 15% in the operating margin, and also longer term than that, 20 and 20. So when we become even more mature, so that's our goals for following years.
So one of the topics I get the most questions in my daily job is pricing and packaging. So how did it evolve for you? I mean, from, let's say, subscription towards SaaS?
Yes, so we, from the pricing perspective, when we wanted to make it worthwhile for the customers to buy SaaS, so when we are selling the same product, if it's in a different model, subscription or SaaS, SaaS, of course, needs to be priced a bit higher than the subscription because it also has the cost that we bear, but the customer is saving. So we are making it, we take that into account in the monthly or annual pricing. And from the compensation plans, we try to make it more attractive for the comp-plans to sell SaaS. And the packaging, we are also packaged some solutions we're actually now offering to buyers. So we are not segmenting to sell products like a menu. We are selling offerings to the different buyers, the different buyer community. If we're secure, because we want to secure every identity with the right level of the privilege account. So you don't want to secure, let's say, a finance person, a user, needs less security levels than maybe an IT admin that has more access to the sensitive systems. So you have to find the right balance between overspending of the customers into the securing, between security and cost. And so we had identified 4 different areas, the IT users, the developers community, the workforce, people like me and you, and the non-human identities. And for each one of those groups, we have a different offering. We have several offerings for those groups, the enterprise and the maybe more light one. And so that's how we packaged our products, and we are selling it on the platform. So we're moving to be a platform company.
So it's basically use cases, case-based offerings on top of the platform.
Yes.
So how did you work with investors during the transformation? You already mentioned that the board was on board, but of course you are a public company, so you had to have the buy-in for transformation from them. How did you manage this? I mean, you mentioned communication was an important part of the transformation. And how did the market react during this period?
Yeah, the market loved it. We were working very closely with our investor community. Every quarter after we publish our press release of the quarterly results, we have a long day of calls, and then one large call, which is public, and then we have lots of callbacks with our investor community, which is growing and growing. And it takes almost a full day of those calls. And we are sharing, we believe in transparency, and we shared with them, and it was on our website. We put the presentation and the slide deck. We had investor day, and then a year later, another investor day. So we met with them in person. We share with them our vision, our long-term plans, where we are, and we keep a very close relationship and touch with them. We have a great team in the investor relations, and so we're all working together to provide that kind of information, to share with them, and they love it, they got it, and they're very pleased.
Nice. So you mentioned that you've done some of the acquisitions before you started the transformation. Did acquisitions have any impact on your transformation, maybe speed it up or gave you different mindset or whatever in that process?
Yeah. Throughout the years, it's a dynamic company and dynamic market. And every time you were doing an acquisition, the acquisition were not done opportunistically. It was because it was a good fit to our strategy. And so, for example, when we acquired Idaptive, it was a company we acquired also in 2020. And that also brought us closer to the cloud and to securing the identities. And definitely it was a trigger that helped us to fast forward into not just the privileged accounts, but to all of the identity security market. We're now in the process of closing the acquisition of Venafi that we announced a few months ago, which is a machine identity governance area. So it's definitely going to help us grow in the non-human identity areas. So we're really tracking all the acquisition to the areas that we believe will get us closer to our goal.
Okay. So now we'll switch gears a little bit and look at the finance department and the transformation. So your favorite topic. So how has the organization transformed during this, let's say, SaaS transformation? So what impact did it have on finance?
I would say that finance, in my view, finance is not a tactic operations team. Finance has always been business partners to the organization. We're always strategic. The finance should always be front and center in every kind of business transformation, because we see the full picture. Everything is, whether it's quote to cash process or procure to pay process, everything has a lot of financial aspects to it. Long-term planning, short-term planning, budget and control, measurements, KPIs, pricing, compensation, everything eventually is relevant to finance. And the finance team has been heavily involved in the transformation. I was not only me and my team were involved in the transformation, and we continue to be the business partner of the organization throughout now supporting the business. And we have created some new functions in the finance operation and pricing, but for the most part, it's the same functions, just now supporting the business, because finance is a mirror picture to the business. So we continue to support the organization.
I can attest to this from my before AWS times. We worked hand in hand with finance. So makes sense. You didn't have to create. I mean, you said you have a couple of new roles, I guess, that are more related to pricing, right, and FinOps, but the rest is more evolution, if I understand, of the
Yeah, I
current
mean, we
role.
had some pricing, finance operations, and so we kind of educated ourselves there, but we just transitioned, finance using the tools that support the SaaS, so maybe slightly different, measurement in the side of the KPIs, but the same organization.
So would you say that the role of a finance leader evolved, let's say, in CyberArk within your time that you're there, which is like almost 10 years now?
Yeah, it's almost 9 years, and it's been fascinating. When I joined the company, it was just after it went public, so it was still ran as a startup, not exactly startup, but it was they had the classic controllership roles, and then over time during those 9 years, we added more and more roles and departments into the team. We added the SOX compliance team, the FP&A department, and the procurement team that I also lead, which is a global procurement strategic team, and the finance operations group, and also the controllership team. We also made it much more strategic, with looking, overseeing things, not just reporting and doing the reports, but also to support organization, the travel systems and the travel reports, and to be proactive and to always lead and look at automation and AI in finance in order to be more efficient and to scale and support organization faster with the customer-centric mindset also for us. For us, the organization, everyone in the organization is our customer. So we give them the support, the service. We are service providers and business partners.
So what I hear is in the last 9 years, you actually have to reskill also parts of the team, or at least you have to develop new skills because of one is business growth, I guess, and the other one is that the business has changed in terms of how ARR becoming a thing is important because it impacts a lot of planning and booking and all that. So I guess the skill set also had to evolve until now for individual people, right?
Absolutely.
Did any of the KPIs that you are tracking as a finance team change, let's say in those outside of, let's say, ARR, the ones we've mentioned, but maybe any internal KPIs that you use?
I think that, as I mentioned before, that the main KPIs that we have a big, a very large set of KPIs that we present to the management team, but we did develop some, like a balanced scorecard with some key indicators that we're looking at churn, we're looking at customer satisfaction, we're looking at the NPS and Net Promoter Scores from our customers, because the customer-centric is so important to us, and we want to predict churn before it happens. So I want to make sure that we are tracking leading indicators, not just the lagging indicators after the fact, but to see things that can be more forward-looking and to project trends. So those kinds of KPIs, of course, in our net retention rate, and the new logos is also something we're tracking every quarter, how many new logos we were acquired during this quarter.
Okay. Any interesting tools that you are using within finance that might be interesting?
In finance, in my team, we use the basic tool, of course, is the ERP system, where we're using NetSuite, and we use Anaplan, we use Pileus, and we use our Tableau for the BI, and many other tools that we use for different, of course, Salesforce for the supporting the sales organization.
Okay. So with the experience that you have, how do you see finance function evolving, let's say, in software companies? Because now we are in, let's say, a phase of honeymoon with Gen AI, or before honeymoon, maybe. I mean, we don't know what the evolving business models will bring. So how do you see finance function, let's say, evolving?
I think that finance function should be very strategic business partners. We should be very proactive to changes and to all the time invent ourselves and to continuously improve ourselves, whether better policies, simplify things, always trying to do more with less and scale, via automation, via AI, and with everything, all the tools that we use. There are so many ways to grow and to improve and do things in a faster, better, more accurate way. So not to freeze and stay, but all the time continue learning and evolving.
Okay. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom or advice for future SaaS leaders that you can extract from your vast experience?
I would say that from my experience of leading a business transformation and any kind of business transformation, is think before you act. So it's very important to plan ahead before you execute and think about all the different aspects and understand the collaboration and cross company is very important, cross-company collaboration with the different departments. I think the culture change every time you're doing a transformation, there is an impact, definitely for a SaaS transformation, an impact from product-centric to a customer-centric. And you need to manage that like any other thing, how to manage a mindset change and a cultural transformation and to do things the right way. And the last thing I would say, communication. It's very important to be transparent with your peers, with the investor community, with the employees, over-communicate and be transparent and share. And also learn from each other. I mean, this conversation, I'm here to help others learn from our story, but I had many conversations also that I heard from others about their stories. And I really enjoyed spending time a few months ago with you. And thank you for inviting us, the CFO community and SVs in Madrid, when we all collaborated and learned from each other. I think this is very important.
Did I forget to ask anything that... I don't know if you have anything else to add, because we are slowly drawing to a close.
No, I think I said it all. Thank you very much for having me here. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And I hope it helped others.
Yes, I think it will definitely help. So Nili, thank you very much for your open and honest account of CyberArk's SaaS transformation. I learned a lot. And I'm sure our listeners will too. So thank you.